Well, good morning. Here it is. It's Monday already, and today is January the 6th. And I really hope you had a great weekend. I hope that you were able to spend some time, with family and friends, and whatever the case may be. Hopefully, you were able to maybe even rest a little bit, maybe get some things done around home. But anyway. Now God He's blessed us with the breath to breathe here on this Monday morning, and we can certainly be thankful for that. He's given us another day, and of course I certainly hope and pray that this morning finds you feeling well. I hope that you're well rested and ready to tackle the opportunities that God has richly blessed us with here on this Monday morning. This morning, I want to share a devotional with you entitled "Jesus Goes Public." And of course, we're continuing our study in the Gospel of John. In John 2:5, it says, "But his mother told the servants, 'Do whatever he tells you.'" Now, even with John the Baptist's height, Jesus he kept a low profile, until he attended a wedding in Cana, with his mother Mary and his disciples. Hospitality was, an essential part of, first century Jewish culture. The more lavishly a person entertained, the greater his social standing grew. Weddings were the ultimate test of a person's hospitality. And so it wasn't unusual for, wedding celebrations to last for days, with food and wine flowing all the while. Now, running out of wine in the middle of a wedding celebration was a worst case scenario. But that's what happened at the wedding Jesus attended. Mary, she realized that, the host would face public humiliation and shame if word got out about this. So she asked Jesus to intervene. Now, Jesus, he was reluctant at first. In verse 4, he said, "My time has not yet come," he told her. And he had not yet, performed a public miracle, because he knew that, when word got out about his miracle working, crowds would follow. And people would be less likely to, focus on his teachings, if they were just, waiting for the next wow moment. Considering that Jesus, hadn't yet performed any public miracles, I think it's interesting that Mary, she believed he could do something in that situation. She's the first person in John's gospel to put her faith in Jesus. And in verse 5, as I, recited in the first, she said, "Do whatever he tells you," and that's what she told the host servants. Now, Jesus rewarded her faith. He instructed the servants, to fill 6, water jars, each with a capacity of 20 to 30 gallons, with water. And when the servants dipped into the jars, they found that it was wine of the highest quality. Now, that may have been the first clue for John and the other disciples that the rabbi that they were following was something more than a rabbi. A short time later, Jesus and his disciples, they traveled to Jerusalem, for the Passover celebration. But when Jesus entered the temple, he saw that it had become a place of business. The Jerusalem temple was the center of worship for the Jewish people, throughout Israel. Many traveled long distances to worship and offer sacrifices there. But rather than bringing their own animals for sacrifice with them, many purchased them, from merchants inside the temple complex. Several merchants exploited the opportunity, and they turned the temple complex into a marketplace. Jesus had too much reverence for God's house of worship to allow it to be, defiled like that. And so he overturned tables, and he scattered coins across the ground, and he chased the merchants out of the temple. And those like John, who listened closely while Jesus disrupted business as usual at the temple, might have heard him refer to the building as "my Father's house" in verse 16. Now, the Jewish religious leaders demanded that Jesus perform a miracle to prove that he had, to prove that he had authority to take such drastic action. So in verse 19, he said, "All right, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." Now, the religious leaders, they scoffed because, they didn't realize Jesus was talking about his own body here. But John and the other disciples, they realized it less than 3 years later, when Jesus, he rose from the dead 3 days after being crucified. I think this story of Jesus, doing what he did at this wedding at Cana, I think it proves that Jesus was who he said he was. And we can rely on that. We can rely on that today. Of course, we have the advantage of having the whole, workings of the Old Testament and the New Testament to know that Jesus is who he said he was. And we can rely on that. And we need to be sharing that with people around us, because that's the only answer to the world's problems is Jesus. So anyway, I hope that encourages you here on this Monday morning. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, Angie and I, we love you guys, and we're praying for you. And Lord willing, I'll see you tomorrow morning. God bless you.